This is a project outside of Delhi, India, designed by Ken Yang. And his inspiration was, and he's known, I think, as the godfather of green skyscrapers. So these are inspirations for his project. And this is the project. It's about halfway up. So we're using aluminum sheet cladding for these garden areas. And organic facades are unique in the sense that they impose some interesting visual aspects, but they also impose some negative aspects to cladding material. Because it's organic, it tends to soil the facade. So on this project, we're using a nanotechnology in the paint finish, which has a titanium oxide additive, which actually burns off microbial growth and dirt. So the building will rinse fairly clean. Otherwise, having this greenery is problematic. So, also all the sunshades, the projected areas are all white aluminum sheet with this nanotechnology coating, which is a coil coating. This is a project, unfortunately, that was put on hold and then later canceled, designed by OMA in New York. And the concept was to reflect the skyline in a subtle way. Instead of a big glass tower that reflects the skyline, how is it possible to reflect the skyline in an incremental way? And they came up with quite a nice idea, which was to embed stainless steel inside a very neutral facade. So this is 316 polished, number 8 finished stainless steel. So during prototyping, which is it's really something that we do on almost every project. We do hand prototyping and then we go into larger mock-ups. So this was the embedded stainless steel in a GFRC panel. Interesting is this developer bought the air rights to this little building, so the building was leaning over the top of this building. It's the structural design was a ductile frame, meaning it was a big concrete tube. So part of the facade design was to be able to deal with the movement of the ductile frame building. This project was inspired by Richard Serra sculptures. So this is, of course, a Corten material. And the project is in Manhattan in a former industrial area. And so Matthew Baird wanted to have something that was contextual with the neighborhood, but decidedly modern. So Corten is offset by very fine lines of a rolled steel glass facade which sits behind it. Of course, we said to Matthew, Matthew, you know that Corten stuff rusts, right? So said, so be prepared for all of the area around it and below it to be rusted. He said, it's okay, it's part of the idea. So you can see this is one plate, which is 3 centimeters thick. There's always a little backstory with these projects. These little discs actually were meant to be part of the structure, but ultimately there are little trap doors, and because Corten is very sensitive to what's behind it, it often telegraphs the material or the moisture behind it. So we wanted it to have a free-flowing air. So there are little trap doors behind these anchor points, and the unit was set with a crane, bolted off, and then the little trap doors were closed so the air could flow behind the Corten. And you can see the mill marks, and actually the building just continues to get better with age. This is a project in Suzhou, China. It's a historic city. And the inspiration, the architect, ironically, is Australian. So the inspiration is to adopt the Sujonese architecture, but in a modern context. I didn't really notice until I was reviewing the slides, the little ducks right here, which. So another contextual issue is this is the architect, or this is Ayampe, Suzhou Museum, where he also took contextual issues. His family is originally from Suzhou. So you can see the Sujonese white and the bronze and charcoal clay elements. So now the project is, so what we've done is this material, this project is essentially all metal. It's all sheet material. So we're using, the roofs are all zinc. We're using light interference stainless steel because the Suzhou climate is extremely harsh for facades. So we're using aluminum, zinc, and light interference stainless steel. And the sheet material is adaptable to this use and wears well in a difficult environment. So I just want to run through some inspired materials. These are materials that some of them we're using currently on projects. This again is a light interference coated stainless steel, so you can really explore interesting color options with the material. We're using plate stainless steel. We're actually hot working, which is we're applying temperature and creating a very textured, tactile material, and this is for a project in Doha, Qatar, where it's at the pedestrian level, so people can actually touch the material, hopefully when the sun's not on it. So it has a very soft bronze, but the color spectrum can be quite broad. We're involved in facades, but this is also taking on some of the public furniture space, tram stops, etc. Hammered softer metals. We're currently doing a government center in Mumbai, India, where they wanted to tell the story of the local environment, the local people, but they wanted to do it in a rich tradition. So in India, hammered metal is quite common. So it's another way of creating a facade that communicates a message. This is a rain screen, so it means it's fully ventilated behind. This happens to be a mock-up in China, but the project we're doing is in India. Explosion-formed aluminum, which is, it's an interesting idea, and it's fairly practical for a very low volume material, meaning that we don't have multiple pieces of the same, because the templating and tooling costs are quite low. This is a double embossed copper, which is, you probably run across this, where you design something and then a contractor says, well, it's just not possible to do it that way. You might have heard that once or twice. This is a good example. This is the Asia Society Museum in Hong Kong. And the contractor said, it's not possible to use copper in this environment. It's not possible to do this pattern. It's not possible, it's not possible. We said, okay, let's do a mock-up. So this is a traditional Chinese textile pattern. So it's a double emboss, meaning it goes through double rolls to create a deeper embossing. And it's the underbelly of the Asia Society. So the walkways and the underside are in this material. Instead of having a flat, tight surface, it's a contextual surface. People look up, they look at the tree canopy, and they see this. So we did a mock-up 6 months later. The architect finally acquiesced, said, okay, it's possible. This material is also now available in coil-coated aluminum, which is exciting. At the time, this was a competition. It was a charrette, so we're sitting with the architect, again Min-Suk Cho, and it was for a cosmetic company. And we were looking at the brochures of the products, and these models had this kind of iridescent look. So we said, what if we could make this tower look iridescent? So it would actually, when the sun hits it, there would be a specular change in gloss and color. So we worked with a manufacturer to develop this on a porcelain material, but now it's available in coil-coated, so it's easily attainable. We chose porcelain on this particular project because it also had a lot of horizontal surfaces, but now with coil coating, it's far less expensive. Carved metal, so this is sheet aluminum that basically is run through a production milling process. So it hasn't been unveiled yet, but the Gucci flagship store in Seoul, Korea has parts of the facade are carved aluminum. So it's carved, and then there's an anodized, hard-cut anodized surface that's a finish that's placed on it. Anodized perforated aluminum, we happen to like the material because it is more organic than a monolithic paint, but it just depends on the architecture. So I'll show you a project that's currently under construction now in Zhengzhou, China, which uses 3 different colors of anodized aluminum. So one of the issues with anodized aluminum, of course, is that it's when you ask for a sample, they give you 5 samples and say, here's the range of what the color will be. But in this particular project, we adopted the idea that it would be different colors.